Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain. Now, I'm here to kind of help beginners get started in China painting, but I'm also here for those of you that know nothing about China painting, but enjoy coming to the mall and seeing the things that have been painted. I wanted to show you today a little bit about my process. I think it's kind of important to talk about how you prepare for a show. And we do have a show coming up, the Dearborn Porcelain Artists. I'm in that show every year. We'll have a show this November. It's going to be at the McFadden Ross House in Dearborn, 915 South Brady, on Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we do this every year. I usually have 2 tables. So it's important that I fill my tables and that I have things that people will respond to well. So what did I do to take stock of what I have? And that's the first thing I did. I went and did an inventory of what I have. Now, down the basement here, I have a big bookcase. And I have it sectioned off according to season. So I have spring, summer, winter, fall. And the winter area is where I looked. Now, some of it I've taken into the booth already. So when I took stock of what I have at the mall, this is what I found. I have, at my booth, I have tea tiles. I have too many poinsettias. I have a poinsettia picture, a poinsettia tea tile, and 2 poinsettia plates. That's way too many poinsettias. So you won't see me painting poinsettias this year. I have candlesticks that have holly on them, and I have a couple of plates that have winter scenes that are really pretty. And I have 1 plate and cup that match, so that's kind of cool. I have jewelry. I have painting rings and keychains, and I have some necklaces, but I'm not going to be painting more necklaces. It seems like the keychains and the rings do better at a show. And so I've gone through and I found a whole bunch more rings. So I just painted up 8. Unfortunately, they're in my kiln right now. I just fired them. And I will put a second fire or third if it needs it on those and then take them to the mall. I also have pictures. So when you paint a tile, like an 8x10 tile or even a 4x4 tile, if you can find frames that match those and frame them, a lot of times they will do very well. What I would suggest is that you put them up on a little easel or something on your table if you have a table for your show. But if not, if you have a way of hanging them, that's even better because people know what to do with a painting or something that goes on the wall, but they don't necessarily know what to do with just a tile. So try to frame things, or in the case of just a 4x4 tile, you can make them into coasters by putting cork on the bottom of them, and that's a really good way of using them. And in addition, I found a couple little trivet frames, and they work really well with the little tiles too. So then after getting all these things together and looking at them and trying to figure out what I had, I realized that I don't have any showstoppers. Nothing at all. Nothing that would make someone stop and go, oh, now that's really beautiful. So I decided there were 2 things I wanted to do. But first, I went down my basement. This is how I decided what I wanted to paint. I got some plates from down in my basement. And this one is one that I thought I could put a Santa on. Now you'll notice I already traced my Santa on. I left his face with the red Sorel transfer paper because I don't want to mess that up at all. And I'm going to start there, so I shouldn't mess it up. But the other things, I actually put the Sharpie marker on because I want to make sure that they don't smear as I'm leaning on them and trying to paint the face. So that was the first thing. I found that plate, and I found this plate, which is a cake plate. And I love this cake plate. And on this one, I just drew what I want. And it's, I just put like berries and pine cone branches all the way around it. I thought it would be really pretty. And I need to think about ways to finish it off. Something I did see that I thought was really cool is that some people were using plaids around the edges. Very interesting too. So, the other thing I found that I need for my table for the show is I need a lot of small things. So I have the rings. I'm going to have the keychains. I try to keep those lower priced because I think that makes something in the price range of just about anybody who comes to the show. And usually people have just a couple dollars here and there that they can buy things with. So even magnets, you might be able to do those for a lot less. Then I look at my sales from last year and determine which things sold the best at the show. Now, if you don't keep track of your sales from year to year, that could be a problem. I have my booth. That's nice because it helps me keep track of sales at the booth. But I also keep track of what I sell at the show because I paint right now I'm painting for both. And I want to make sure that I keep track of what does well at the show so that if something does really well, although you don't know if it'll do well every year, but you have something to fall back on as far as, well, these kinds of things in this price range sold. So for my showstopper, I decided the first one I'm going to do is Santa. And so I have the plate that I showed you. The way I found this Santa, my feeling about Santa is Santa's been done every way possible. He's been done a million different times in every color you can think of. And so to try to recreate Santa is hopeless. It's easier. Susan Thumbs at the class I took this summer said something, and it really stuck with me. And that was, I like to paint. I don't like to spend a lot of time worrying about the format and everything. I like to paint. And I thought, yeah, I do too. I just like to paint. And so for something like Santa that's been done a million times, I'm just going to find one I like on Pinterest. And if you don't use Pinterest, I think you're missing out because Pinterest can help you a number of ways. It can help you with something where you just want to find something and paint it, which is what I'm doing here. Or it can help you if you've got an idea in mind, like I want to do a pine cone plate. You can get a ton of pictures of pine cones. You can see different ways they were painted, different colors they were painted with. And then you can decide, well, I'll take this color and I'll put it with this color, and I'll take these pine cones and I'll put them here. And so that way you can also design your own original plate. But I didn't do that this time. So this is from, and I wrote it down. Oh, it's from Etsy, and it's a DIY diamond art kit, whatever that is. So I just like the Santa, and I'm going to put him on a plate. So the next thing I do is look at this. Now, I picked this for a number of reasons. I like the look on his face. He's about the right size for my plate. But I also like the way he's framed by the berries and holly. And I like the color. So the next thing you have to do is take this picture and go look at your paints. Now, if you haven't been painting a long time, it might be that you can't find the exact colors you want here. But you've got to remember, this is the finished product. This is not the first fire, second fire. This is the finished product, the third or the fourth fire. So where I saw up here, can you see there's a real light pale pink. So I took soft pink and I thought that would look nice. Over here, there's a soft rose. So I think on the first fire, except for maybe this section in the middle that I might do in a little bit of ruby, I'm going to do the pinks and the soft roses. I had to look for his face. I came across an ivory flesh that I think will work, as well as a regular flesh that's a little pinker for his cheeks. For the mistletoe, I tried to match these colors because I really like these colors. So the lighter green there, I think, is more of a mistletoe. And I'll show you what mistletoe looks like because I don't think a lot of people know what mistletoe. That's mistletoe right there. And this is what they call medium green. Now, I'd never used it before, but I was looking for this color green. And it's not really there, you can see it better there. It's not really like a shading green. I don't want to use black green on the first fire. I don't want to use anything that is too Kelly green, you know, that has too much of the yellows in it. So I chose this medium green, which I think will work really well. And then the background. Now, I don't know what you see in the background. I see a lot of ivory. I also see like a warm brown gray, and that's this color here. This is the warm brown gray. And I see it mixed with like an ivory. I also see, and I don't know if this is going to work, but there's a rose pomp there. I see a little bit of rose pomp in the background, like maybe over on this side here, and maybe up in here. Or maybe even a light heliotrope if you had the heliotrope that leans to the pink. But you have to analyze this and decide what you see. Now for shadows, like here and up in here, I see a little bit of blue in there. Now that may be just my eyesight. So what I did was I found a blue-gray that I could do very lightly that I think would be great on these holly leaves, but might also work well up in here and maybe down in here. And then the rest of it, I will also use the warm brown gray. Warm brown gray and a blue gray mix pretty well together. So that's something I'm going to try. So I traced it on with Sorel transfer paper. Now, don't throw them out. I mean, if you look at this one, you see how many times I've used that? You can use them over and over and over again. So don't throw your transfer paper out when you just do one transfer. Make sure you hang on to it because it's great. So now I'm going to take my Santa Claus and I'm going to start to work on him. Now I'm going to start from the middle out. So I will start from his eyes, nose, and mouth out. Because, well, two reasons. I don't want to get my hand in my work. But I also think that if I get that all the way I want it, then the rest will naturally come pretty easy. Now I also see on here, see some areas that are pounced out. And by that I mean like highlights that you've got the color there, but it's lighter. So I'm going to use this eraser to pounce it out. And I'll show you where I'm seeing that. Up in here on his forehead, on his nose, and on the tops of his cheeks, I see the color pounced out. So I'm going to put you down. I'm just going to work on this for a little while, and we'll talk about it as I work on it. Now, this is what my palette looks like. I have soft pink, soft rose, ruby, ivory flesh, mistletoe, medium green. This is regular flesh, warm brown green, rose pomp, and the blue gray. Now I'm going to start and do his face first. I have never taken a portrait class in my life, but I decided because I'm going to work on this over time that I am going to work on it with an open medium, and I'm using mineral oil, which I had excellent success with in Indiana. But I will tell you, if you're not used to working with mineral oil or you never have, try one piece before you start this. I'm going into my ivory flesh because, and a little bit of the warm brown gray, because I want a little bit of a, here, let me get more of the flesh, warm brown gray. I want a little bit of a shadow up in here. And I'm using a really small brush for me. I'm using a number 6. And I say small because I don't usually use brushes that are like that, you know, that are thin like that. So, and I'm just kind of gently putting this on. Now, I'm not going to rush. When I get done with this, I have an excellent place to keep it. I bought an IKEA table that has a table on the bottom, and then it has on the very top of that, it has kind of a, I'm using mineral spirits to clean my brush, by the way. It has a piece of glass over it, so you can slide your piece between the glass and the tabletop, and it doesn't get any dust on it. So I can work on something, stop working on it, put it there, and then come back to work on it. And it's just great. Okay, now I'm pulling the ivory down. This is the ivory flesh. I don't know what's there. That's bugging me. Okay. And I'm going to pull it over his eye a little bit. Now I'm looking at my picture to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. And really, since the ivory is my lightest color, there's probably not much that can go wrong right now because you obviously want to use your lightest color. Now I'm going to take the warm brown gray and I'm just going to put a little more up in here. I think it could use it because I had to put the ivory on more so I could see the contrast between the two. And I don't even know if you can see it. And now I'm going to do this cheek over here. And I'm looking at this cheek. I'm just going to do the top part of that. I almost think of this like as if it were paint by number. When you're trying to copy something and you want it to be exact, you almost have to kind of break it down to, okay, you put number 5 here, and then you go back and you put number 4 here, and then you go back and you put this here. And it really amazes me because that actually makes it a little bit easier. I'm side loading with flesh now, and I'm going to test my flesh to see how it works. Yep, on the nose. I figure the nose is probably the most prominent part of this. He has kind of a bulbous nose, so I'm making it in kind of a C shape to sort of complement that. And then I'm going to come up the side of the nose here with just a little as a shadow. And then we'll have a little across the bottom here. Now this is going to be very, very light when it gets done. And then it's going to go into the kiln. So it's not going to be a heavy piece that I've done, that I've painted. It's going to be a light color. This is a good example of something that I'm working on, and I want to take my time to work on it. Okay, I do like that flesh, so I am going to make it a little more prominent. It's better to, when you're working with an open medium, it's better to work on it in kind of layers if you need to, so that you don't blow it. And then I'm going to bring the color over into here. And he has some swirls of mustache out here. So I will do those. Okay. Back here it's a little bit redder, so there we go. Okay. And then I still have to do this cheek over here. And so it's not an original study, but it is one that I think fits this plate very well, and I'm real pleased with it. Now I'm going to put in his lips. They probably should be a little more pink, but initially I just want to put them in with the flesh color just to see what they're going to look like. Okay. And now I think I'm going to try a little bit of the soft rose over that, just to give it, I'm side loading with these, just to give it a little more color. I noticed, even though I got the ivory flesh there, I missed it here. There we go. Okay. And I want a little more of the regular flesh right here to give him a little more of a nose. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to play with it too much. Now he has a little kind of a crease over his, right here. wiping off the color. I don't want it to be that dark. There we go. Now I told you I was going to take this, and I'm just going to pounce a little right there and a little right there on the end of the nose, because I want to make sure it has some life to it. Alrighty. Now, as far as the eyebrows go, I'm going to take a little bit of the warm brown gray, and I'm just going to, come here you, I'm just going to try to tap it in just enough to give us a little bit of texture there. And now I'm going to have to go in and pull out some of it. So I'm going to use my stumps. Like I said, I've never really done portraits, so there we go. There we go. And I think I'm going to need white. So I'm going to have to open up. I just finished mixing up some white, so I do have some on my palette. And I'm going to have to add it to this palette. There we go. You could use like a magnolia, which is probably what Susan would use, but I'm not real big on the magnolia. So I'm going to take a little white. I always use white. I love white. And I'm just going to use a much smaller brush. I have this little tiny brush. Okay. Now, I may find in the future that I need to do more of a shadow there. I think I do now. So let me see here. Let's see if we can get the shadow there. I wonder if I put a little blue in with it, if that would help. Maybe not on his face, but there we go. There we go. Okay. And now for his beard. And it's just as you look, see, this is the guy I'm painting now. As you look here, I see other colors in there, and I kind of want to get them in. So I'm just going to use a little gray. I'm sure I could make it, but I'd rather just mix it than make it. And then that way I've got a color that I can use. Oh yeah, this is a good gray. This is pearl gray. You kind of have to know your colors a little bit and be aware of what works and what doesn't. You have to, when you mix a color, and I'm sure most of you know this, but when you mix a color, it goes a lot darker than you expect. So you want to make sure that when you're mixing a color, here, I want to write in here what I've got. I've got white and pearl gray. Okay. You want to make sure that the color that you're putting on here is going to be the right color. I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to try to come down around his beard. Okay. And let's do the same thing here. It's away from him One side's always easier than the other, you know darn well. Okay. And then up near his nose, though, I want it to be more of a brown color. So I'm just going to very carefully use the warm brown gray and pull it up. Now you've got to leave the white. If you don't leave the white, you're going to have a problem. So I am going to take and put a little bit of white in back in his beard, his mustache. On both sides. There we go. And then, where's my wipeout tool? I'm going to use my wipeout tool to kind of get some of these little guys here. And over on this side, this is actually hair coming down there, but I am going to use the gray for that too, and just put a little gray back in here. Let's put a little brown gray in there too. There we go. And I'll take my wipeout tool and go boom, boom, boom. And I will take some white and put the white in. Okay. Now I need to do his eyes. I'm going to try a little bit of this pearl gray right up in here very gently. Actually, I think the warm brown gray would have been a little better. There we go. And I'm going to do it over on this side too. Okay. As you paint, you find colors that you need that you didn't think you needed, and so that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to add the colors back to my palette. So I have Cool Shadow, which is blue. I have a black, and I have a rich brown. And the reason I want these colors is because I think I need a little contrast here. So I'm going to take, I've got this little brush that's barely a hair. And I'm going to add a little rich brown to it. And I'm going to go back over this because I think it should be a little darker. Let's do it right here too. Okay, that's better. All right, now I do have some wrinkles. And I'm not going to deal with those right now. I'm going to wait on those. There we go. I'm going to take and wipe out where I don't want the color. There we go. Alrighty, and now I'm going to take that same teeny tiny brush and make his eyes blue. At least around the outside. Now, you don't want to do the middle of his eye because that's going to eventually be black. But I'm putting the lighter color around the outside of his eye. This turntable is great for this because you want the color to come away from the middle. There we go. Well, I'm pretty pleased with that. Now it's going to be black in the middle. I'm almost afraid to put it in this time. I'm almost thinking I should fire him with the blue and then put him in, because otherwise I could wreck it. And I really like his eyes, which is unusual. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that brown. And I'm going to do just a few of these wrinkles lightly. They probably shouldn't be brown. They probably should be flesh here. Like I say, I've never done a portrait before. I've done Santa a couple of times, but I don't consider Santa a portrait. So here we've got this here. And he's going to have a... And we've got it on this side here. I want to do this side of his nose. There we go. That side of his nose. Coming down there, and I'm going to get rid of this here. That looks dumb. Yeah, that's better. Then I'm going to get a little bit of the brown. Test it on my tile. I don't want to go too dark. And I'm going to put in his nostril. Oops. There we go. I don't want it to be too dark, though. I think I may have gone a little too dark on it. Let me see if I can remedy that. Okay. Where's this? Make sure you don't put any turpentine or mineral spirits on your brush and then just put it on here, or you'll have a mess. What you want to do is if you need to do what I'm doing right now, you dip it in your medium, and then you just add a little color to it and then just play with it, and that should help. And up in here, he needs a little color. That's better. I'm using flesh. And on this side, he needs a little color. And he needs a little color right here. Yep. There we go. Okay, I think that's good enough for this fire, for that on him. I'm not going to do more. So now I'll start working on the beard and the hat. I'll probably do the hat next, because to me the hat is going to be a lot easier to do than the beard. And When I do work on the beard, I will use my filbert. And when I work on my the hat, I think I still use my filbert because I want it to look fluffy. Same thing with this. This will be fairly simple, the little pom-pom. And then I'll put the background behind it. I know, or I might fire it and then put the background behind it. It just depends how happy I am with it when I get this process done. I think his lips could use a little more of a pink to them. Let me put a little pink on his lips. We're going to use, I think I'm just going to use Flush right now and do it. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's where I'm going to leave it right now. I will get back to him and finish the rest of him. Alrighty, pick up those brushes, keep painting, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.